There's a moment in life when you realize something powerful. No one is coming to hand you your breakthrough. No one is coming to build your confidence, your discipline, your success. It's you, always has been you. This message isn't about the world, the competition, or the noise outside, and this is about you. Because the day you finally choose to focus on yourself, that's the day you start to win. There is a moment in every person's life when they must confront a simple but powerful truth. Your life is your responsibility. Not partly, not occasionally, not when it's convenient, fully. Everything you want, everything you fear, everything you dream about, every outcome you chase is tied to one thing: the choices you make and the actions you take. Many people wait for the perfect moment, the perfect support, the perfect opportunity, believing that something outside of them will shift their circumstances. But the reality is, waiting is the slowest form of death. Nothing changes until you decide to change it. When you stop expecting other people to fix your problems, to motivate you, to push you, to carry you, you reclaim the power you've been giving away your entire life. Responsibility is not a burden, it's liberation. It means your future is not determined by your past, your environment, or your excuses, but by your willingness to take ownership of your direction. When you accept responsibility, something shifts inside you. You stop blaming circumstances and start building solutions. You stop complaining about what you didn't get and start creating what you want. You stop giving your energy to people who don't contribute to your growth. Responsibility is the birthplace of freedom because it forces you to recognize that your life moves when you move. You are not a victim of the world unless you choose to be. You are not powerless unless you accept that lie. Responsibility gives you clarity. If you don't like where you are, you have the power to take yourself somewhere else. And that realization is often the spark that ignites transformation. You stop negotiating with your limitations and start aligning with your potential. You realize you are in control of your habits, your emotions, your responses, and your standards, and once you tighten your grip on these, life begins to shift in your favor. Taking responsibility also means letting go of the fantasy that someone is coming to rescue you. No mentor, no partner, no friend, no inspiration, no motivation can do the work for you. People can support you, but they cannot live your life for you. They cannot wake up for you, work for you, study for you, heal for you, or fight your battles for you. This is your journey, and the weight of it rests on your shoulders. And the moment you embrace that weight instead of running from it, you grow stronger. You become more disciplined, more focused, more intentional, because you understand that every step you take either moves you closer to the life you want or keeps you stuck in the one you're trying to escape. Your energy is the most valuable resource you have. Yet most people give it away without even realizing it. Every thought, every conversation, every environment you allow into your life shapes your mindset, your mood, and ultimately your results. The people you spend time with, the media you consume, the distractions you chase, all of these either build you up or tear you down. Energy is contagious. And if you're constantly exposed to negativity, doubt, and low standards, it becomes nearly impossible to reach your potential. Protecting your energy doesn't mean isolating yourself from the world or avoiding challenges. It means being intentional about what you allow in and refusing to let external forces dictate your inner state. It's about understanding that your focus, your attention, and your emotional bandwidth are finite. And if you waste them on things that don't serve your growth, you sabotage your own progress. When you start to protect your energy, you begin to notice how much of your life has been spent in autopilot, reacting to external pressures, opinions, and demands. You start to see the people who drain you, the habits that distract you, and the environments that weaken you. You learn to say no without guilt, to set boundaries without apology, and to prioritize what truly matters over what feels urgent. Energy is not just physical vitality, it's mental clarity, emotional stability, and spiritual focus. When you protect it, you create space for creativity, productivity, and high performance. You stop wasting your power on things that don't move you toward your goals, and you redirect it to the actions, thoughts, and relationships that actually matter. Protecting your energy is an act of self-respect, a declaration that you will not be defined by what others bring into your life. Protecting your energy also means protecting your mind. The thoughts you feed yourself, the words you speak internally, and the stories you tell yourself have enormous power. Negativity, doubt, and fear can be as draining as toxic people, and often even more subtle and destructive. You must guard against the internal voices that whisper, "You can't," "You're not enough," or "This is too hard." By choosing to focus on thoughts that empower, uplift, and challenge you constructively, you reinforce your inner strength. The world will always throw distractions, drama, and energy vampires in your path, but when you maintain a shield around your mental and emotional state, you gain control over your response to them. You realize that your energy is yours to invest, and that by protecting it, you are building the foundation for success, resilience, and unstoppable momentum. Comparison is one of the most subtle and destructive forces in life. It starts quietly, almost unnoticed, as a thought here, a glance there, a moment of self-doubt triggered by someone else's success. And before you know it, it controls your emotions, your decisions, and your sense of worth. When you compare yourself to others, you are measuring your journey by someone else's map, and that map was never meant for you. It doesn't account for your unique strengths, your timing, your experiences, or your challenges. Comparison creates unnecessary pressure, fosters resentment, and keeps you trapped in a cycle of self-doubt. The truth is, no one else's path can define your value, your purpose, or your potential. The moment you eliminate comparison, you reclaim your focus, your energy, and your freedom to grow on your own terms. When you make the choice to stop comparing, you begin to see life differently. You recognize that success is not a finite resource, that someone else's achievements do not diminish your potential. You start to celebrate your own progress, no matter how small, and to appreciate the unique skills, experiences, and opportunities that only you have. Comparison often comes from looking outward for validation, and when you stop seeking that approval, you stop measuring your worth by external standards. Instead, you shift your attention inward, evaluating yourself only against who you were yesterday, last month, or last year. This shift is transformational because it turns energy that was previously wasted on envy, judgment, or insecurity into motivation, clarity, and confidence. Every time you choose your own growth over someone else's narrative, you strengthen the foundation of your future. Eliminating comparison also frees you from the trap of distraction. When you focus on what others are doing, you lose sight of what you should be doing. Your attention fragments, your actions become reactive, and your goals get diluted by the noise of other people's lives. By removing comparison from your mindset, you reclaim control over your choices. You start setting goals based on your vision, your values, and your capabilities rather than trying to match someone else's results. This doesn't mean you stop learning from others or being inspired by them. It means you draw lessons without letting them define your identity or dictate your pace. You recognize that growth is personal, progress is individual, and success is not a race against someone else, but a commitment to becoming the best version of yourself. Comparison distorts reality because it focuses on highlights and ignores the unseen effort, struggle, and failure behind every person's achievements. When you stop comparing, you stop feeling inadequate because you begin to understand that every journey is unique, every timeline is different, and every victory is earned in its own way. Inner discipline is the cornerstone of personal growth and the foundation of lasting success. It is the invisible force that determines whether your dreams remain fantasies or become reality. Discipline is not about rigid rules or punishment. It is about training yourself to take the actions that matter, even when you don't feel like taking them. Most people rely on motivation, waiting for inspiration to strike, hoping that energy or desire will carry them forward. But motivation is fleeting, unpredictable, and unreliable. Discipline, on the other hand, is consistent. It is the decision to act according to your priorities, your values, and your goals, regardless of your mood, emotions, or circumstances. Every great accomplishment in history has been built not on fleeting inspiration, but on consistent, disciplined action, repeated day after day, until it becomes unstoppable momentum. Building inner discipline requires first acknowledging the power of choice. Every moment presents an opportunity to act in alignment with your long term vision or to succumb to short term comfort and distraction. Most people choose the latter because it feels easier, safer, and more immediately satisfying. But over time, those small, seemingly insignificant choices accumulate, creating either a life of mediocrity or a life of excellence. Discipline is about choosing the path that aligns with your higher purpose, even when it is uncomfortable, inconvenient, or challenging. It is about resisting the temptation to give in to instant gratification, excuses, or fear. The more consistently you make these choices, the stronger your inner muscle becomes and the easier it is to take control of your mind, your habits, and ultimately your destiny. Inner discipline is also cultivated through structure and routine. When you design your day around intentional habits, priorities, and non-negotiables, you remove the friction of decision-making and reduce reliance on willpower alone. Discipline is strengthened when you commit to showing up consistently, whether it is for work, learning, health, or personal growth. Each deliberate action, repeated over time, reinforces the belief that you are capable of controlling your own life. It teaches resilience because discipline is tested in the moments you feel like giving up, in the moments you face resistance, and in the moments the world pushes back against your goals. By persisting despite discomfort, you develop self-mastery, confidence, and the ability to navigate life with focus and clarity. Finally, inner discipline is a mindset as much as it is a set of actions. It requires taking full responsibility for your choices, eliminating excuses, and refusing to blame circumstances or other people for your outcomes. It is the understanding that your habits, your focus, and your daily decisions compound over time to shape the trajectory of your life, and that by controlling them, you control your destiny. Creating a personal standard is about defining the level of excellence you refuse to compromise on in your life. It is the invisible boundary that separates mediocrity from greatness and ensures that you consistently operate at your highest potential. Most people drift through life reacting to circumstances, conforming to other people's expectations, or settling for less than they deserve. They tolerate behaviors, situations, and relationships that lower their energy, weaken their resolve, and limit their growth. A personal standard is a declaration to yourself that you will no longer accept anything that does not align with your values, your goals, and your vision. It is a commitment to excellence in every area of your life. How you think, how you act, how you speak, and how you show up, even when no one is watching. When you create a personal standard, you begin to understand that your life is a reflection of the rules you set for yourself. Standards are not arbitrary, they are intentional. They define what you will tolerate, what you will pursue, and what you will reject. By establishing these boundaries, you gain clarity and control over your actions. You no longer drift along with the opinions, habits, and energy of others because you have a clear framework for how you live. Your standards dictate the quality of your relationships, the consistency of your work, the habits you maintain, and the decisions you make. When aligned with your highest vision, your personal standards create an internal compass that guides you through distractions, doubts, and external pressures. A strong personal standard also shapes your mindset and identity. It is not just about rules or behaviors, it is about who you decide to be. When you hold yourself to a higher standard, you internalize the belief that you are capable of more, worthy of more, and destined for more. You stop seeking approval from others because you define your worth by your own principles. You begin to see opportunities through the lens of excellence rather than scarcity, and your choices become aligned with long-term growth rather than short-term comfort. Personal standards are tested every day in the decisions you make, whether to speak with integrity, act with courage, maintain consistency, or honor your commitments. And each choice strengthens the standard you live by. Finally, creating a personal standard empowers you to lead your life intentionally rather than passively. It eliminates excuses, clarifies priorities, and forces you to hold yourself accountable. It transforms how you approach challenges, setbacks, and distractions because everything is measured against the standard you have set for yourself. By defining the baseline for what you accept in your life, you create a life that is aligned with your vision, filled with purpose, and anchored in excellence. Investing in your growth relentlessly is the ultimate commitment you can make to yourself because it is the single factor that determines the trajectory of your life. Growth is not a one-time event or a passive occurrence. It is an active, deliberate pursuit that requires focus, discipline, and consistency. Most people go through life hoping that circumstances, luck, or external support will elevate them. But true success is built by those who refuse to wait for the world to hand it to them. When you invest in your growth, you prioritize learning over comfort, progress over complacency, and action over stagnation. You understand that every skill you develop, every insight you gain, and every habit you improve compounds over time, creating opportunities, momentum, and influence that others often overlook. Relentless growth requires a mindset that refuses to settle. It is the willingness to look in the mirror and confront your weaknesses, gaps, and limitations without excuses or self-pity. It is the courage to seek feedback, embrace challenges, and push beyond what is familiar or comfortable. People who grow relentlessly understand that failure is not a reflection of inadequacy, but a tool for refinement, a necessary part of the learning process. They invest in knowledge, in experiences, and in themselves because they recognize that the best return on any investment is personal development. Every book read, every skill mastered, every discomfort endured becomes an asset that compounds over time, giving them leverage in every area of life: career, relationships, health, and mindset. Investing in growth also means prioritizing your environment and the people you surround yourself with. The energy, knowledge, and influence of those around you have a direct impact on how quickly and effectively you evolve. By surrounding yourself with high standards, wisdom, and accountability, you accelerate your own growth and avoid stagnation. This requires intentionality because not everyone you meet or every opportunity presented to you aligns with your vision. Relentless growth demands that you consistently evaluate where your time, attention, and energy are being spent and make adjustments that serve your long-term goals. It is not just about external knowledge. It is about internal transformation, the constant refinement of habits, mindset, and self-discipline. Ultimately, investing in your growth relentlessly is about creating leverage in your life. When you continually improve, learn, and expand your capabilities, you increase the quality of your decisions, the impact of your actions, and the level of your influence. Growth compounds in ways that are invisible at first but undeniable over time, and those who refuse to invest in themselves remain limited by their own potential, while those who commit to relentless growth unlock opportunities, freedom, and success that others can only dream of. Focus on yourself, protect your energy, and refuse to compare. Build discipline, set high standards, and invest in your growth relentlessly. Your life responds to the effort you put into becoming your best self. The moment you commit fully to yourself, everything else begins to fall into place.